You know, it's funny how we talk so much about building good habits when we're young or in our careers, but we don't often realize that some of those same habits could quietly sabotage our lives once we retire. Today, I want to walk you through 4 specific bad habits that you absolutely need to leave behind right now if you want to enjoy retirement the way it's meant to be enjoyed. And here's the thing, a lot of these habits are sneaky. They don't announce themselves as problems. They just blend into your daily routines so seamlessly that you don't even realize they're there. Until suddenly, you're wondering why you're feeling drained, restless, or even unfulfilled. When we first stepped into retirement, we dragged along so many patterns from our working days without giving it much thought. Life before was nonstop, work, errands, obligations. It was like running a race you didn't even have time to question. We thought some of those routines were harmless, even comforting. But it turns out, a few were doing us more harm than good. Back when we were still clocking into offices, our evenings looked pretty typical. Pick up some groceries, prep dinner, maybe squeeze in a little downtime. Cooking dinner used to be one of our favorite parts of the day, and with it came our little tradition. We'd crack open a bottle of white wine while we cooked, and then, once dinner was ready, open a bottle of red to enjoy with our meal. It started out as something small and celebratory. But over time, it became automatic, a daily ritual we didn't even think twice about. As we moved into retirement, with more free time on our hands and fewer structured hours, that casual 2-bottle habit stuck around. At first, we didn't notice the effects. But slowly, the morning grogginess crept in. Sleep became more restless. Our energy wasn't the same. And truthfully, it wasn't just the wine. It was what it symbolized. It was this idea of carrying over habits from a fast-paced life into a slower, quieter one without adjusting for what we needed now. It's really important to realize, not every habit that helped you survive your working years is going to help you thrive in retirement. You might have developed certain time-saving tricks, stress relievers, or coping mechanisms that made perfect sense when life was a whirlwind. But if you hold on to all of them, without reassessment, you could be unknowingly sabotaging the very freedom you worked so hard to achieve. Here's a great example. Remember back when technology exploded? We went from Palm Pilots to Blackberries to smartphones practically overnight. And along with that came a constant, never-ending stream of emails. During our careers, it made sense, checking emails on a lunch break, during meetings, before bed. It was survival in a competitive world. But when we retired, that habit didn't just vanish. It stuck. Whenever there was a quiet moment, sitting on the porch, waiting in line, even watching TV, the instinct to grab the phone and check emails kicked in. And let's be honest, nowadays, most of those emails are just store sales or random newsletters. Definitely not worth interrupting a peaceful moment for. It wasn't until I caught myself mindlessly refreshing my inbox for the 10th time in an hour that it hit me. This habit, once necessary, was now a thief. It was stealing my attention, my presence, my relaxation. Before we dive into the specific habits to break, I think it's important to acknowledge why change can feel so tough after retirement. First, there's this mindset of entitlement, and not in a negative way. It's just this well-earned belief that after working your whole life, you deserve to do whatever you want, however you want, whenever you want. And you do deserve freedom, but if that freedom gets filled with unhealthy patterns, it can quietly erode the happiness you worked so hard to find. Second, many people fall into the trap of thinking, well, if these routines got me through 40 years of work, they must still be good for me now. But here's the truth. Retirement isn't just a continuation of the same life without the job. It's a different phase entirely, with different needs, different rhythms, and yes, different priorities. Lastly, the idea of changing deeply ingrained habits can feel overwhelming. Change is hard at any age, but especially when you're older and the rhythms of your days feel comfortable. Even the thought of making major adjustments can feel like too much effort. That's normal, but it doesn't mean change isn't possible. And it certainly doesn't mean it isn't necessary. Let's be clear, we're not saying you have to scrap everything you love or turn your life upside down. There are plenty of habits from your career days that might still serve you well. Good time management skills, the ability to prioritize, resilience under pressure. But when it comes to how you fill your time now, you need to be selective. Ask yourself honestly, is this habit helping me live a richer, healthier, more meaningful life today? Or am I clinging to it simply because it's familiar? One of the biggest mistakes we made, and that we see so many others make, was assuming that what worked for us at 40 would still work for us at 65. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Not when it comes to your health, your happiness, or your personal growth. Another sneaky habit that tends to creep up? Hours and hours of television. When we were working, having the TV on for an hour in the morning while getting ready didn't seem like a big deal. But in retirement, that hour can easily stretch into 2, then 3, then the entire afternoon if you're not careful. The news cycle alone is enough to pull you in and wear you down. Add in endless reruns, streaming shows, mindless scrolling, and suddenly the precious hours of your day are gone, not spent living, but spectating. The truth is, binge watching anything, whether it's Netflix or TikTok, eats up more than just time. It dulls your creativity. It numbs your ambition. It replaces meaningful activities with passive consumption. And the worst part? It often leaves you feeling even more drained and restless than when you started. Something we really had to learn the hard way was that retirement isn't just about doing whatever you want all day long. Sure, it sounds great, and for a little while it is. But without structure, without meaningful purpose, that kind of total freedom can quietly become a trap. You start thinking you're relaxing, but what you're actually doing is wasting days you'll never get back. Without realizing it, you can drift from one mindless activity to another, and before you know it, months have passed, and you're wondering why you feel a little lost, a little disconnected. There's this dangerous assumption many retirees make, and honestly, we made it too. It's a belief that your old life skills, your old ways of doing things, will just naturally carry you through retirement. But retirement isn't just life without a job. It's a different chapter with its own needs. And if you're not willing to adapt, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Now let's talk about something that seems small but has a huge impact over time. The habit of saying yes when deep down you really mean no. This one was a big hurdle for us, especially because we're naturally people pleasers. We like making people happy. We like being liked. And when someone asks us to do something, attend a dinner, volunteer for a committee, join a new group, the knee-jerk reaction is often to say, sure, I'll be there. But here's the thing. Every time you say yes to something you don't truly want to do, you're saying no to something else. Maybe rest, maybe personal goals, maybe simply protecting your own energy. And in retirement, your time is more precious than ever. You don't owe anyone an explanation. A simple no, thank you, is a full sentence. And learning to say it without guilt is one of the most freeing skills you can ever develop. One of our neighbors gave us some great advice about this. She said, the strength of a relationship isn't shown by how often you say yes. It's shown by how comfortably you can say no and still know that you're valued. That changed everything for me, because I realized that true friends, real connections, don't require constant agreement. They respect boundaries. They celebrate your honesty. Now, let's move on to something that honestly hits even closer to home: neglecting your physical health. For years, decades even, many of us put our health dead last on the list. We were too busy working, raising kids, running errands, meeting deadlines. Eating whatever was fast and easy, skipping workouts because there wasn't enough time, telling ourselves, I'll deal with it later. Well, guess what? Later is now. And if you're like most retirees, you're probably feeling the weight of all those years where you put yourself on the back burner. But here's the good news. It's not too late to change. I remember one night not too long ago, we went out to dinner, and I made the mistake of ordering this enormous plate of ribs. Delicious? Absolutely. Smart? Definitely not. I woke up feeling terrible, my body heavy, my energy wrecked. It was a wake-up call. Those indulgences that once felt like harmless rewards when we were younger now have real consequences. Poor sleep, sluggish days, creaky joints. They don't just appear overnight. They build up over years of tiny choices. And taking care of yourself now isn't just about looking good. It's about feeling good, thinking clearly, staying independent. and being able to fully enjoy the decades ahead. I want to tell you about someone who completely inspired me. Recently, I played a round of golf with an 87-year-old woman who absolutely ran circles around us, hitting farther, walking faster, staying sharper. She was vibrant, joyful, full of life. Naturally, I had to ask her what her secret was. I was expecting some kind of magical tip, maybe a special diet, some rare supplement, maybe even just incredible luck with her genes. And while she did admit that genetics played a part, what really stuck with me was what she said next. She told me, "Every single day, I move my body, even when I don't feel like it. Especially when I don't feel like it. On those days, I move twice as much. Simple. No shortcuts, no gimmicks. Just daily, intentional movement." It was such a powerful reminder. Because here's the truth. The body you're living in today is the result of every decision you've made for the past 20, 30, 40 years. But the body you'll have 10 years from now, that's being built by the choices you make today. Now let's touch on another area that's crucial but often overlooked. Having a plan for your days and weeks. I get it. The very word plan can feel suffocating when you've just spent 40 years living by alarm clocks and meeting schedules. You don't want to swap your boss's calendar for a personal one. But here's the thing. Planning in retirement isn't about rigid schedules. It's about intentional living. It's about making sure your time reflects your values, your goals, your joys, not just the path of least resistance. When we first retired, we resisted this. We thought, finally, no more schedules. So we tried waking up every day without a plan. And you know what happened? Days blurred together. Important things got pushed aside. Projects we cared about gathered dust. Without structure, we didn't feel free. We felt stuck. Now, our weeks have a loose rhythm. We know which days we golf, which days we focus on creative projects, which evenings are reserved for date nights. It's not rigid, it's flexible. But it gives us momentum. It gives us something to look forward to. And most importantly, it ensures that the things we truly care about don't get lost in a fog of endless somedays. Look, we know change isn't easy, especially after a lifetime of doing things a certain way. There's comfort in familiarity, even when it isn't serving you anymore. But you owe it to yourself, and to this incredible chapter of life that you've worked so hard to reach. To build habits that lift you up, not hold you back. Breaking bad habits isn't about judgment or guilt. It's about giving yourself the best chance to live fully, energetically, joyfully. Because retirement isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of an entirely new one. Now let's dive into the first habit you need to let go of immediately. And it's a big one. Endless screen time. It starts so innocently, right? You wake up, reach for your phone, just to check a few things, maybe a quick look at the news, or peek at social media. 10 minutes turns into 30. Then suddenly, an hour's gone. Maybe even 2. And it doesn't stop there. Later, while you're having lunch, you turn on the TV for some background noise. Then an old movie comes on. Then a new show you've been meaning to watch. Before you know it, half the day has slipped away in a haze of screens. The truth is, binge-watching TV shows or mindlessly scrolling through social media isn't just a harmless way to pass time. It's a habit that quietly steals your energy, your creativity, and your potential for real joy. Every hour you spend passively consuming content is an hour you could have spent creating something, learning something new, moving your body, connecting with someone you love, or simply enjoying the peace and quiet that's so rare in this noisy world. And here's the kicker. Most of the content we scroll through isn't even uplifting. It's not making us smarter or happier. It's feeding anxiety, outrage, comparison. It's filling our heads with noise and crowding out our own original thoughts. One simple way to check yourself? At the end of your next scroll session, grab a piece of paper and write down everything meaningful you got out of that hour. Chances are the page will stay pretty empty. It's not about cutting technology out of your life altogether. Phones, tablets, and TVs have their place. But it's about using them intentionally, not letting them use you. Let's move on to the second habit. And if you're anything like us, this one might hit close to home. The habit of saying yes when your heart really says no. I can't tell you how many times we agreed to dinners, events, committees, favors, all because we didn't want to let someone down. We didn't want to appear rude. We didn't want to disappoint anyone. But here's what no one tells you. When you say yes to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you're silently saying no to yourself. You're saying no to rest, no to your own goals, no to precious quiet time, no to opportunities that might matter more to you. And in retirement, when your days are your own, you have to protect them fiercely. One little trick we started using is simply saying, "Let me think about it," or "Let me get back to you," whenever we're invited to something. It gives us breathing space. It gives us permission to check in with ourselves before making a commitment. And honestly, it's empowering. You start realizing that your real friends, your real community, will still be there even when you say no. Maybe they'll respect you even more for setting healthy boundaries. I'll never forget a piece of advice a neighbor gave me. Strong relationships are built on honesty, not obligation. That one sentence changed the way I approach invitations forever. All right, let's get into the third habit you absolutely have to ditch: neglecting your body. This might be the hardest one, because it's not about a single choice. It's about all the tiny day-to-day decisions that add up over time. Skipping walks because it's a little chilly. Choosing fast food because it's convenient. Putting off doctor visits because you feel mostly fine. The trouble is, those choices don't just vanish. They accumulate silently, until suddenly they show up as aches, illnesses, or a general feeling of being older than you really are. I know because I lived it. I ignored my health for years. Work was the priority. The kids were the priority. Community commitments were the priority. I told myself there would be time later. But here's the brutal truth. Later doesn't take care of itself. Later is built today. That simple choice, to take a walk, to eat a real meal, to prioritize sleep, to stretch, it seems so small in the moment. But over the years, it's the difference between feeling vibrant and independent, or feeling trapped in a body that won't cooperate anymore. And listen, this isn't about running marathons or becoming a fitness fanatic. It's about honoring your body enough to treat it with kindness every single day. Movement matters. Nourishment matters. Rest matters. They always did, but in retirement, they matter even more. I'll share a story that keeps me inspired. Not long ago, I met a woman who was pushing 90 and still playing a better round of golf than people half her age. She was agile, sharp, and full of life. When I asked her secret, she smiled and said, "I move my body every single day, whether I want to or not. And when I really don't want to, I move twice as much." Simple advice. Nothing flashy. No complicated program or secret formula. Just the daily discipline of honoring her body, even on the hard days. That stuck with me, because it reminded me, the fountain of youth isn't something you find. It's something you build, one step at a time, one day at a time. Now, the fourth habit we need to talk about is one that sneaks up on almost everybody. Drifting through your days without any real plan. When we first retired, the idea of tossing out our calendars and living by pure spontaneity sounded incredible. No alarms, no meetings, no obligations. Just waking up every day and doing whatever we felt like. But after a few weeks, it started to feel less like freedom and more like floating without a rudder. Days blurred together. We found ourselves wasting time, putting off things we cared about, and feeling surprisingly restless. And it hit us. Retirement isn't a vacation. It's a new chapter of life. And like every good chapter, it needs a little bit of structure to give it meaning. Having a plan doesn't mean turning your retirement into a rigid 9 to 5. It simply means deciding, with intention, how you want to spend your days. It means carving out time for what matters to you: health, hobbies, family, creativity, rest. For us, it meant setting simple rhythms. Certain days for golf, certain afternoons for projects, evenings for connecting with each other. Not because we had to, but because having a loose framework actually created more freedom, not less. It gave us something to look forward to. It protected our time. And it made sure that when we looked back on our week, we felt satisfied, not scattered. I get it, the word plan can feel suffocating, especially when you're just beginning to enjoy life without work stress. Maybe it helps to think of it differently. Instead of planning, think of it as designing your life. You're not scheduling yourself like a machine. You're setting up your days so they reflect your deepest values, your real joys. For us, it became a casual, weekly check-in, just sitting down on Sunday, looking ahead, and asking, what we want this week to feel like. Not a list of chores. A vision for the life we're actively creating. Trust me, it's worth it. Because if you don't design your days, the default distractions, TV, social media, mindless errands, will design them for you. And you deserve better than that. So now that you know the 4 habits you need to break, the real question is, how do you start? You don't have to overhaul your whole life overnight. Tiny shifts are enough to create huge momentum. Start by picking just one area to work on this week. Maybe it's the screen time. Move your phone off your nightstand so it's not the first thing you reach for in the morning. Or maybe it's saying no. Practice delaying your answer when someone invites you to something. Give yourself permission to check in with your gut before agreeing. If health is your focus, commit to a 20-minute walk each morning. Nothing complicated, just a simple promise to move your body. And if your challenge is structure, spend a few minutes each Sunday sketching out the week ahead. Not in stone, just enough to give yourself some gentle guidance. Small changes build powerful momentum. Before you know it, those small shifts start compounding. You start feeling more energized, more alive, more like the person you were always meant to be in this chapter of life. You didn't work your whole life just to end up trapped by unhealthy patterns. You worked for freedom. You worked for joy. You worked to create a life that feels rich and meaningful, even without the deadlines and demands of your career. Breaking these habits isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about being kind to yourself. Kind enough to choose better, healthier, more fulfilling paths. Because the truth is, retirement isn't a downhill coast toward the end. It's an incredible new beginning, a chance to rewrite your story on your own terms. And you have the power to make it everything you dreamed of: vibrant, adventurous, peaceful, deeply satisfying. But only if you're willing to step back, be honest about what's no longer serving you, and make the changes that matter. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one habit today, just one. Decide that you're going to start shifting it, even just a little bit. Maybe you start your mornings without your phone. Maybe you protect your evenings with a real bedtime. Maybe you start telling people, let me think about it, instead of defaulting to yes. Whatever it is, begin now. Your future self will thank you 1,000 times over, because life is still wide open in front of you. There are adventures to be had, relationships to deepen, skills to learn, memories to create. And every day you live with intention instead of drifting is another day you claim that beautiful future for yourself. If any part of this resonated with you today, if you're thinking, yeah, I've got a few habits I need to break, you're not alone. We're right there with you. This journey is ongoing. Some days we get it right, some days we slip. But what matters is that we stay awake to it, that we keep trying, that we keep choosing growth over comfort, purpose over autopilot. And if you're serious about living your best retirement years, stick with us. There's so much more we're excited to share with you: tips, insights, encouragement for this incredible season of life. In fact, if you found today's conversation helpful, you're going to love what's coming next. So don't go anywhere, and remember, the best chapters of your life are still being written. You hold the pen. Make it a masterpiece.